with a simple concept. How easy is this? Just do 2 a day. 2 a day. Again, you do 10 if you want, but it's 2 a day. It's 2 a day. It's like a mantra. And remember, this is not just about the business side. We're not just talking about the business side. We're not just talking about the opportunity. It's really about helping more people discover how Orem works. What is Orem? It's for everybody. Not everybody is going to want to build a financial wall around their family. Not everybody is going to want to learn how to do 2 a day or invite, and not everybody is going to do that. Some people, like I said, they're going to become customers, and there's nothing wrong with that. They can still, as a customer, the question is the product, is the platform amazing if it's just a customer? Yes, the answer is yes. Is there a difference between a customer, what they earn on their daily ROI, and what a partner earns? No, it's the same. A customer is going to earn the same as a partner. The difference is the partner is going to earn from growing a network. The customer is not interested in growing a network. They're not interested in growing the ecosystem. But you want to talk to people, talk to the people about how the ecosystem works and the support that we have and the growth, and how AI finance can really create daily opportunities for everyday people. For everyday people, you don't have to be a crypto geek to get involved with Orem. You don't have to be a trading expert to get involved with. You don't have, and that's the fallacy. That you don't just have to be looking for a certain type of people. It's everyday people that, if they only knew that for as little as 100 USDC or USDT, they can get started on a journey of continually earning ROI every single day, they would be fired up. They just don't know about it. And that's why the invitation is so important. So what we want you to do is we want you to stay connected. We want you to stay consistent and stay active every single day with two. So I want to talk now about how to invite people naturally, all right, in a natural way. You want this to be natural, and you want to practice a natural, like a conversation. So let me give you a couple simple invitations. I'll give you some examples, and then that you can practice, and that you and your team can actually use. Okay, and you don't need to sound complicated. Don't do that. You don't need to sound technical. You don't need to sound perfect. It's not about that. You just need to be clear, and you need to be confident by practicing, and you need to keep it simple so that it doesn't matter who you're talking to, they're going to understand. So I'm going to go through like a conversation, and then just get the concept. You don't have to have word for word, but you just have to get the concept of what is he talking about? How does this invitation work? And I would say to you, for example, have you ever noticed that? You could write down, have you ever noticed? Isn't that cool? As soon as they say, have you ever noticed, they're going to say it in their mind, because noticed what? Have you ever noticed that most people aren't happy about their money that's sitting in the banks, and they're receiving practically zero or close to zero returns? Have you ever noticed that? That's the beginning of a conversation. That's the beginning of a conversation. They're going to say, yeah, and then now you're engaged. Now you're engaged in a conversation. And we all know that the banks are using their money to make more for themselves, and they're certainly not sharing the profits that the banks are making. They're not sharing it with their customers. You see how this could lead to, oh man, and then you just introduce them to maybe a live event that's coming up on Zoom, where you can introduce them to Orem and let a speaker introduce them to. There's a lot of great presentations, a lot of languages out there that person is on a live Zoom, and we've got recordings that they're going to explain it to that person. That's all. That's your invitation. You're inviting them maybe to a live Zoom. Maybe you're inviting them to, hey, to learn more, hey, watch this replay of a Zoom, or watch this replay and let's talk after. Can you see how simple that is? You did a 30-second invitation, and you invite them to watch a replay, or invite them to a live call, or send them a PDF, or send them some information that they can take a look at, or send them a video. You see what I'm saying? And so your part was like 30 seconds. It's not your role as an inviter is not to explain the whole thing. Like, if you do that, you're just not going to duplicate, because the person says, hey, that's great, but I can't explain it like you just did, right? But if you let the system work for you, you're going to see how easy and simple this is, and how fast that your team starts to duplicate. Let me give you a couple more examples. You could say, you could say to someone, like, for example, maybe you're in a conversation. Again, it's a conversation. It's not a sales pitch. You're not trying to sell or convince them about anything. You're bringing them a gift. But have you heard about AI finance? I was just in Cannes, France, with all the geeks, right? Ethereum is a big Ethereum community event, and there were geeks, and I was nervous because I'm not a geek. I'm just a guy trying to figure all this out, right? But they're geeks, and I asked them. I said, what's the hot thing coming up on the blockchain? And everybody was saying the same thing. It's AI. It's AI. And then I asked them, have you heard of AI finance? And they looked at me like they were watching a ghost. It's going AI finance. They didn't know. Even the geeks don't know what AI finance is. And here we are sitting here just at the beginning. I'll tell you what, within a year to 18 months, AI finance, every household is going to know what AI finance is. And Aurum is leading that charge. Aurum is developing this whole platform as AI finance, right? So you could say something like, well, Aurum's developed a platform where AI is actively analyzing market opportunities, but they're not only analyzing the opportunities, the AI's doing that, right? But all of a sudden they see an opportunity, they can execute a real trade in real time while you're sleeping, or you're on the beach, or you're having breakfast, or you're having dinner, or you're out with your friends, or you're introducing someone, and that trade is executing. And it helps to grow the crypto accounts instead of letting the money just sit idle in the bank. Does that make sense? It's again, I'm not looking for word, but I want you to kind of understand the concept of what we're talking about, just the concept, and go back and rewind and watch it again and watch it again. You use your words. Keep it simple. Don't complicate this. Another example might be something like, would you be open to taking a quick look at Aurum Foundation, right? And what the Aurum Foundation is building. And they might say, well, what is it? Well, it's an ecosystem, and it's something called AI finance. In a way that this ecosystem, what does it do? It creates real value, real ROI, real returns every single day. And Aurum shares its ROI, its return, with their customers, and those who deposit and those who provide capital. It shares it back. Imagine that. That's amazing. Does your bank share it back? No. Right? Can you have fun with this? Do you get the idea? Do you get the concept? Do you feel the energy? That's the invitation. It doesn't get more complicated. If you complicate it more, now you've got their attention. Now you can point them to a presentation. You don't have to be the presenter. There are some on the call that you're doing presentations 4 or 5 a week. Great, right? That's great. But not everybody is comfortable with the presentation, but we can just now point them to a live Zoom. We can point them now to a recorded maybe presentation, and let the presentation explain it to them. And then after they watch the presentation, or you watch it together, now you can have a conversation. They might say, wow, this is awesome. How does it work? And now you start teaching them. You help them get started. You take them through step by step. And they're thinking, what did that person just do? They just said something. I don't even remember what they said, but all of a sudden I'm watching a video, and that video explained everything. Or I'm on a live Zoom, and it explained it so clear. And now I said, yeah, I'm interested. And then they helped me get started. They could say, hey, I could do that, right? I can do it, because whatever you do to them, they're thinking, can I do this to my friends? Can I take these actions? And if you do what I'm showing you, to invite, and then point, invite, and let the system do the heavy lifting for you. Or you might say something like, look, I'm a part of a project. It's awesome. It's called Aurum Foundation. And what we're doing is we're showing people how the AI finance, how their AI finance and their ecosystem can work together to create daily opportunities and daily ROI. Would you like me to send you a short video to overview? Would that be interesting to you? And yeah, they might say, tell me a little bit more about it. And then you could tell them a little bit, but then point them to the information and let the professional presentations do the heavy lifting for you. So you're not spending 4 hours, looking like a fool trying to explain, all the things that the blockchain and all that stuff. You don't want to go down that road, right? And so those are the simple examples. I mean, again, if you kind of get the idea, you're golden. I mean, if you get the concept that you're just trying to give them a little potato chip right out of the bag of potato, you're just giving them one. And if they say, oh, this is really good, then you want to point them to the information, let that information do the work. The goal is not to make the invitation long. You don't make the invitation long because it's not duplicatable, right? The goal is to make it easy to start a conversation that leads to a professional, presentation, that leads to a more organized presentation, right? So the next thing I want to talk about, and we're going to wrap up here, is the invitation should never feel heavy, right? It's got to be and when you practice your invitation, right, practice it in a natural way. You should feel confident when you do the presentation. It should feel even simple. And you're going to say, Shane, it can't be that simple. Yeah, that's the magic. If you keep it simple, that's the magic. That's how you're going to go scaling. I mean, scaling. You're going to grow your team faster than a rabbit farm on a hormone diet if you keep it simple. You're not trying to convince people. You're not trying to pressure people into something. That is crazy stuff, right? Don't do that. They'll run away from you, right? If you do that, right? You're not trying to force people. Don't do that. You're just simply, imagine it. You're just opening the door to the beautiful ecosystem that Aurum has put together on your behalf. It's amazing, right? Like I said, I talk always about if you see a good movie, right? And you're just opening up the door to say, hey, you should check out that movie. Very simple. You don't have to be the producer. You don't have to be the actor in the movie. You don't have to be the editor and the director of the movie. You just have to say, hey, I'm inviting you to go watch a movie. It was really good. I liked it, right? So you're kind of having that same concept, right? And when you learn how to invite with confidence, because it's so simple, you build up your confidence, your business begins to breathe. Your business begins to breathe, and new energy comes in, new people start coming in, new opportunities start to appear, right? But it's just the start. It's just the first step of learning how to invite properly. And what does this mean? Right now, this is important. This is where you want to roll up your sleeves, grab a pen, because this is where the duplication, right? We want it to duplicate. This is where the duplication becomes powerful. If your team, if you really, really want your team to grow, all right, you got to teach them the same simple action. You got to teach them the same rhythm, so that as you start to learn the simplicity of an invitation, now you're pointing them to a presentation, you learn. As you start to learn the simplicity, you start to teach that simple.